Your perception of me is a reflection of you. My reaction to you is an awareness of me. That's kind of profound stuff, I think. Now, in the past, we've used the analogy that if God were like an ocean, I would be like a cup of water, and you would be like a cup of water of that ocean. Now, if we were all still in the ocean, if we were all part of that ocean, how well could we get to know what the ocean is? We might know the top part's a little more sunny and the bottom part's a little more dark or a little more cold, or this part's got a current or that part has this or that particular type of fish. But it's still the ocean getting to know the ocean. God did this amazing thing of self-actualization where we each got to put in a cup and take out our little cup of water in the ocean, pretending for a second or believing in the illusion of separateness, that I am unique, that my cup of water is separate from your cup of water and separate from your cup of water. Quantum physics shows us that everything's connected. Everything on the planet's connected, energetically. Spiritually, we know that. The biblical truth is that God says, I am in all things, which includes you and me. Relationships are, on one hand, almost like our test of are we walking our talk? Are we living our belief system? Because if I believe that there's a spark of God in you and there's a spark of God in me, then I should treat you like I'm talking to God, because I am. I'm talking to a piece of God. And in like kind, if you have the same belief system and if you're walking the same path, then you should talk to me as though you're talking to God, because there's a spark of God in me too. And at the same time, there's a spark of God inside of Dozer, and there's a spark of God inside of all of our friends and family members, and even the ones who are difficult for us, even the ones who are challenging. And so we look at that book, The Little Sun and the Soul, where it was so easy for, as these two angels were talking about incarnating down on the planet, and they said, I want to know what love is. And this other little angel popped up and said, I can teach you that. And then the little soul said, but I want to know what pain is. I want to know what fear is. I don't understand this. And it took a very special little angel to say, I love you enough to do that, to be that person for you, to teach you that thing that you don't want to know. Relationships. Relationship comes up this week because it's in our relationships that we see heaven. It's in our relationships that we see a perception of hell. I mean, when we look at any aspect of our life, anywhere we've ever been, whatever we were doing, whether it was work, whether it was play, whether it was home, whether it was church, whether it was going to a park, whether it was driving through a particular neighborhood, anything, going to the beach. Whenever we say, how did you like that? How did you like that place? How do you like working here? Oh, the people are great. I feel like I'm in the right place. I love the people I work with. I enjoy going to work because of the relationships that I have. Or I love the work, but the people and I don't get along too well. Let's just know that something is not in sync. Something is not a match. The way that our piece of God views another piece of God is simply letting us know whether we're in vibrational alignment with it or not. If it's peaceful, we are. If it isn't, then there's something in here that needs tweaking. And someone else, some other spark of God said, I'll help teach you that thing. Kind of simple stuff, but so profound at the same time, because in our lives, relationships are the most important things. Last night there was a TV show, what was that, a movie, Will Smith, I Am Legend. Now in this movie, forget about the zombie part, but just for a moment, as I was watching that movie, knowing that today we're talking about relationships, here's this guy. Now in the movie, he's on the island of Manhattan, and there's nobody else alive on the planet on the island of Manhattan. So he can literally live anywhere he wants to live on the whole island. Penthouse, skyscraper, beautiful mansion, wherever he wants to live, he can. He has not one bill on this planet, not 1 ounce of debt. Any car he wants to drive, he can go find the keys and he can drive any car he wants. do anything he wants. No laws, nobody to tell him anything, nobody to dictate his time. How often do we put these things at the top of our priority list? I'll be happy once I don't have bills, when I can live in the house I want to live in, when I can drive the car I want to drive, when I can do the thing I want to do, when I own my own time. In that movie, the dude had all of that. All of it. Didn't matter. He'd have traded it all in a heartbeat just for, in that movie, his dog who passed away, or his wife and his little girl who didn't make it because of a helicopter. It's the people in our lives that are most important, yet we give our power to all these other things: debt, bills, where I live, how I live, what I drive, whatever these things are. Now this week, we're inundated with relationship stuff from all around the spectrum. When we were out in the Midwest, Mary and I got to spend some time with some good friends, Deborah and her fiance Don, and neat people, neat folks. I've known Deborah for 15 years. And Don had been going through some health challenges with some heart stuff, and we've been doing some prayers, and everything was really looking good for Don, and he was going to the Mayo, he was doing his stuff. And Tuesday I got a call from Deborah, and she said, "I need your help. Don passed this morning." And we went, wow, we were just hanging out with y'all the other night. Spent the night at your place so that we could hang out and at the barbecue and the this and the that. Got an email from somebody else whose furry little four-legged friend made his transition to the other side. Went over to the folks' house and mowing the lawn and just kind of catching up and hanging out. And we drive away, we get no more than a few blocks away and get this phone call. SOS, come back. Like, SOS, we just left. What could have changed that much in 20 seconds? Came back and her house landed on her car. The ceiling of her garage just kaplumped right onto her car. And in that moment, it's not that the folks couldn't handle it. It's not like there was anybody in imminent danger or anything else. But the natural instinct was to reach out to people they loved. Hey, come back. Help me out. What is this? What's going on? What do we do? How do we do it? And it's not that they didn't know. It's not that any of us don't know. It's when things get goofy, we like having somebody there. Say, reached out to another relationship from an insurance guy. And then they reached out and gave a call to Mark, and lickety split, dude's over at their place going, okay, let's fix this and fix that and do these and do those. And the relief in their voice when they called and said, it's okay, Mark's here. The way that we feel as connections when Darcy showed up, before, when it was just, you know, if you remember back to the early days, it was me and Mary singing a duet with a TV, you know, and just, wow, somebody's here, thank you, this is rocking. You know, it's in those moments, you know, like with Deborah when she called that, you know, she and Don were talking to the Mayo Clinic, talking about setting up an appointment, and he just started to lean forward, and she said, I need to go, I got to call 911. That quick, everything changed. And her next phone call was reaching out. I need help. I need to connect with someone. I need this. I need this. We all need each other. When Mary and I went to the Midwest, there were a few places that were important to us because we put a lot of energy there. But at the end of the day, it was the people we were going there to see. Oh, I miss this person. I haven't had a hug from this person in a long time. I just want to see your smile. And we knew that this is our home because we look just as much for it, if not more, than coming back. Look, oh, we missed connections, we missed our friends, we missed our family, we missed this, we knew where all the hugs, and where's the people, and blah, blah, blah. And look at the difference that it would make if we hadn't chose to connect, if we didn't choose that relationship, if you didn't choose it with us. How different would this experience be if everything else were the same? Same house, same island, same everything. And we can all relate to this because there's been different parts in our lives that we've all lived there, we've all been there. So I've got a beautiful house on a wonderful place that I totally love, and I don't know anybody. I have no friends. Are you connected with the place? Nope. Great house. Great this, great that, great this, great that. Doesn't matter. I want to go somewhere where I'm loved. I want to go somewhere where I'm connected. And when we do connect with people where we are, that makes it worth doing. That makes it worth having. Now, one of the key components of relationships is communication. Let's throw another curveball into it. On July 14th, Mercury went retrograde and stays that way until, what is it, August 9th, 7th? To August 7th. Now, Mercury is the planet that affects communication. And when Mercury goes retrograde, that just means instead of it's going its normal way in the sky, it appears to be going backwards. And what we found over the years is that when Mercury goes retrograde, what we say isn't always what we meant to say. And what we heard wasn't always what the other person had to say. And we can get really crossways with our communication with stuff because we're affected by the planets, just like, you know, the tide's affected by the moon and everything else. And so now, especially until August 7th, really use kid gloves when it comes to anything regarding communication with people you love, or entering into new contracts, or doing anything like this. Just, it's not to say don't do it, it's saying give the other person the benefit of the doubt more than you normally would. Make sure and really think about what you're saying before you say it, because like all of us, we can't unring a bell once it's rang, right? But when we know that's going on, it's not that it affects us, that we say, oh, I can't talk to anybody, I need to go in the cave and just not answer the phone. It's not that. It's just exercise a little more caution. When Mary and I were on our trip to the Midwest, we love rocks, as you all know. And I always am very excited to see which rocks I'm going to bump into in my travels that are going to get to come home with me. And I look at what my life is reflecting back to me. And with relationships, they're centered in the chakras in the belly button. It's called the sacral chakra, and it's orange. And so if you want to increase your relationships, anything orange, wearing orange, drinking orange, looking at orange, orange is the vibration of this and will help to align it. Or send energy to your belly button. But anyway, the rocks that we found, yeah, hold this for a second. We're both orange. These, and one more, but I've only got one free hand. But it looks a lot like that one. Was carnelian, and carnelian is the stone that's connected to in vibrational alignment with that sacral chakra. And most of the time, carnelian is this little bitty, I'm a visual aid kind of guy.
Hang up the microphone. You gotta stay in.
Well, fine, then, just be sensible about it.
Mother.
Okay. But normally when you find carnelian, it's in little bitty pieces. There's little bitty ones. And so when we found this great big one, that was just all kinds of cool. And then the other one we found is this one, which is the raw form, and this is actually from Oregon, where Mary's from, so that was even, made it even more special. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy about carnelian, especially when we're talking about relationships and how it tunes into that chakra, is not a tremendously pretty stone, but how many people have ever heard the expression, well, this situation or this person just rubs me the wrong way? Right? Well, this is what raw carnelian looks like. And when something rubs it the wrong way, and it's got a little bit of polish on it, that's the beauty of the stone that shows up. So oftentimes in our life, especially with relationships, if something's rubbing on us just a little bit, rather than giving our power to it, to them, to the situation, to whatever it is to first look inside and see what part of me needs that little bit of polish. Because as I get that little bit of polish inside, it starts to show outside. And that lets our real beauty shine through. Now these things are all neat in theory, and we say, I get that, I understand that. Intellectually, I'm right there with you. But when it comes to my daily life, dude, you just don't know. You don't have to deal with this person doing that thing, saying this stuff, treating me this way, with da 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 da. So in theory, I totally agree with and believe what you're saying makes sense to me. In practical application, dude, you just don't know. You just don't know. And you're right, I haven't walked in your shoes. What I do know is that truth is truth. And if this stuff over here is truth, then this stuff over here is an illusion. Here's a little exercise. Not the hypnotherapist that Mary is, but I'll ask you to just look back in your own memory to anybody you've ever struggled with. Be it a boss, a partner, a friend, a situation, a family member, whatever it is. When did that ever change? When did the change part happen? If it's something you used to deal with, you used to struggle with, that you're not struggling with now, what was the pivot point? When did it change? The answer 99.999% of the time is when I changed. When I wrote my book, the first book, Bridging the Gap Between the Christian and Metaphysical Worlds, inside, I felt there was something I wanted to do, I needed to do. But I also felt like somehow I'd become a bastard of both worlds. Because the Christian people didn't like me because I was metaphysical. And the metaphysical folks, they didn't like me because I was Christian. And so I kind of felt like I had growing up in LA, where I've got friends that got like one parent who's white, one parent who's African or Asian or whatever it is, and they say, the white folks don't accept me because I'm African, but the African folks don't accept me because I'm white. And I'm kind of in this, I'm not in either place. And that's how I felt. And so I would do all these radio shows, and I would talk to all these people about all this stuff, trying to have it make sense in here. That's all I was doing. And I had the people on this side just barking about how wrong I was. And I had the people on this side just barking about how wrong I was. Because in here, I had this side talking and this side talking, and they weren't in agreement. Now when in here made sense, when in here got peaceful, my goodness, the people on this side started coming out of the woodwork saying, oh my gosh, I finally have somebody I can relate to. I was raised so Christian, and I so believe that, and I love God, and I love Jesus, and I love these things. But I totally love astrology and this and this and this and this and this, and finally it makes sense. Guardian angels, this, that, where have you been all my life? And the folks on this hand said, man, I've always loved metaphysical principles and blah, 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 but I struggled with, who am I praying to, and morality and this and that, and a lot of the things that are taught about and over here, and connecting those two really has helped me out. Once it changed in here, it changed all the way out there. Probably every situation that you had involving another person changed when you changed. When you got your polish, you started to shine. Now, things I love about metaphysical principles are, for example, if I'm struggling with relationships, or if I'm honoring relationships, I just put this in my pocket. It's got an aura. This one goes out about 5-6 feet. And so just having it inside of my aura changes it. It's like two tuning forks. You hit one, you hold the other one up to it, they'll begin to vibrate at the same. Just by having this inside of my bubble, changes the frequency of my bubble. So what I do is I take one of these and I put it in my pocket, and I'll put another one of these in my pitcher of water. And it changes the frequency of the water. And so I'll be taking it from the inside out and the outside in. And next thing you know, my relationships, especially the ones I'm struggling with, I begin to find great pleasure in. But much like Mary's meditation and what Deepak had to say, is we take our power back from this thing, from this person, from this situation, and we look at it from an in-here perspective. Also, we value those relationships. Anything that's worth doing has to be worth doing. When your car lands on your house,
What your house lands
or your house lands on your car, yeah, that.
She shouldn't have pulled on the ceiling like that.
When things happen, good or bad, we love it. It intensifies it to have other people that we know care to share it with. Back in LA, there was a good friend of mine, Pastor Jim, and I love Jim's church. And Jim had worked every single Sunday for, I don't know what it was, probably 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. And he was talking with God, and he decided he really wanted a day off. And he didn't feel like he could give himself permission to have a day off. So Jim called in sick. And there was a guest minister that came in. It was a great Sunday, and no problem. And the next 2 to 3 weeks, Jim was just in a funk. Finally, after about 2 to 3 weeks, Jim came clean with all of us, and he said, you know, here's what it was. I really wasn't sick. I have so wanted to try out this golf course. And Sunday morning was the only time I get a tee time. And I haven't taken a day off in 3.5 years. And so I told a white lie. Okay, I straight lied. And I said I was sick and I wasn't going to play golf. He said, and I thought that I was getting away with something. God had other plans. I hit a hole-in-one on the 18th hole. And there was nobody around to tell.
That's it.
And when I came back home, I couldn't tell anybody. And all of my golf buddies, and all of my wife, and all of my family, and all these people who know that I love to golf and know that I am terrible at it, would have been dancing in the streets with me, but they couldn't celebrate with me because I couldn't tell them because of me. Now, it's time to come clean. This is what happened, blah, blah. And I hit the hole-in-one. And he was so excited because he got somebody to share it with. With the metaphysical principles of understanding first that it's just your piece of God talking to your piece of God. Removes 99% of the judgment. The next part is when we see that somebody's rubbing us. Is there something in here they're trying to get us to know? Trying to get us to do, trying to get us to change? Something that we have agreed that we already want. I think back to jobs that I've had. Loved the job. Grew companies, had an amazing time. It was just magical. Until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, sure enough, the relationships inside of those businesses started to change, started to not be fun, started to give me a gut ache just as I drive into the office. It's terrible. Because these relationships were telling me it was time to change something. And I knew that it was time to change something. I'd known for months it was time to change something. But I couldn't convince myself to change it because it was still good enough on all these levels. But if I hadn't changed, I wouldn't be here. I'd still be in LA running businesses, doing my thing. God has a plan to all of it. So this week I encourage you to wear orange, drink orange, close your eyes, meditate, see orange, have a piece of carnelian in your pocket. Improve the quality of relationships in your life. They really are what make life worth living. Kind of like in that I Am Legend movie. It's not about the house, the car, the bills, the debt, the whatever stuff that we put all our pressure on. It's not about being perfect. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about how we connect with each other. And allowing that polish to come out. And again, until August 7th or so, kid gloves. Kid gloves when it comes to communication. Give Mercury a 2. I can say that I look forward probably most to Sunday mornings because I get to hang out with people that I love. And I get to see the people that I love utilizing their time, their talents, their gifts to the same God I love. It's almost like we all together put on this thing called Connections. And it's almost like a recital, like a little kid does a recital for their folks. Right? It's almost like a recital to a Heavenly Father, to God. Like, hey, look, here's what we learned, and here's where we're at, here's what we're doing, and here's what we need some help and some guidance with. And here's this gift that you've given me of song and of message and of meditation and of time and of effort and of all these different things. And we're putting it for you because you rock and we honor you. And at the same time, one of the benefits that we get is the ability to connect with and love and bring out the very best in each other. Thank you.